a year for Notre Dame. After losing to Northern Illinois in the second week of the season, all hope seemed lost. The sky was falling, and Marcus Freeman said, "Calm the heck down, I got this." And what did they do? The Fighting Irish rattled off 13 straight victories before ultimately falling short against Ohio State in the national championship. Losing to Northern Illinois to making the national championship. 14-2, 12 of those 14 wins coming by double digits. 2 of them coming in the playoff against Indiana and Georgia. This Notre Dame team was fantastic last year, and the crazy thing is they could be even better this year. This team is loaded in South Bend, and this maybe could be the year they finally break through and win the whole dang thing. You take a look at the offense. I am excited for the Notre Dame offense this year. I am excited for C.J. Carr. I think he's the real deal. Notre Dame was 101st in the nation in passing last year. They averaged just 198 passing yards per game. That should change this year. Carr is a really dang good passer. Got great pocket awareness, got a great arm, and maybe could lead Notre Dame to their first season of at least 250 passing yards per game since 2021. They've got the talent to do it, right? They finally got some good wide receivers to pair with their quarterback. The number 1 receiver from last year, Jaden Greathouse, returns. They also added Malachi Fields from Virginia, had over 1,600 reception yards with the Cavaliers in the last 2 years. They added Will Pauling from Wisconsin, had over 1,300 reception yards the last 3 years with the Badgers. They returned 3 starters on the offensive line. Freeman says this actually might be the best offensive line he's had since becoming the head coach in South Bend. And then, oh yeah, there's like this guy named Jeremiah Love, a true Heisman Trophy contender, arguably the best running back in the nation, who rushed for over 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns last year, 6.9 yards per carry, who's going to dominate in almost every game he plays in. And behind him, you have Jadarian Price as well, who rushed for nearly 750 yards. The Fighting Irish are loaded. They average over 36 points per game. I think they can match that, maybe be even better, because they're going to have a great ground game, but they're going to have a dominant passing attack to go along with it. Defensively, I mean, come on, it's Notre Dame. They're elite per usual, right? They've got a new defensive coordinator in Chris Ash, so that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. The former Rutgers head coach wasn't great as a head coach, is a good defensive mind, though. Excited to see how he pans out in South Bend. 7 starters are back after only allowing 15.5 points per game, only 307 yards per game, and they were an insane plus 18 in the turnover margin. So the Fighting Irish knew how to stop you. They knew how to take the ball away. And then once they took the ball away, they'd go score on you with Jeremiah Love, Riley Leonard, guys like that. They do lose Jack Kaiser. They do lose Xavier Watts, their top 2 tacklers from last year. But after that, their top 5 return. So 5 of their top 7 tacklers from last year do return. The defensive line may be the biggest question mark if you want to point to one for the Fighting Irish this year. Joshua Burnham does return. They've got Donovan Hinish back up front, was second on the team last year with 4.5 sacks. But after that, things look great. The linebacking core looks dominant. You've got Jalen Sneed. You've got Drake Bowen, who was 3rd on the team in tackles. The secondary is absolutely loaded. Devontae Smith, not the wide receiver, the nickelback, transfers in from Alabama. Aiden Schuler, Christian Gray, both had 3 interceptions last year, and Leonard Moore was phenomenal as a freshman and should be even better now in his second year. So Notre Dame has a stacked team from top to bottom, talent at all 3 levels defensively. They've got a dang good young quarterback that I think is the real deal. The schedule, though, that's the kicker, right? It's a little bit tougher than the schedule last year, maybe tougher than schedules we've seen in the past for Notre Dame. I mean, just look, even the month of September alone, all Power 4 opponents, Miami, A&M, Purdue, Arkansas. Then they play Boise State, who made the playoff last year. Of course, have USC. Played Syracuse, who won 10 games. So a much, I would say, tougher maybe schedule than we've seen in years past. And I think tougher than what Notre Dame faced in 2024. Let's start in Miami, though. The big one. Sunday night at Miami. Bit of a rivalry game, I guess you could call it, between the Hurricanes and the Fighting Irish. It's going to be C.J. Carr's first start against Carson Beck. First start at Miami, transferring in from Georgia. The Hurricanes also going to be replacing 1,000-yard rusher Damian Martinez in their top 6 pass catches, but their defense is looking really, really good. 8 starters back on defense. They've got a new defensive coordinator as well, and Ruben Bain is going to be a guy to watch against this Notre Dame offensive line. This is going to be a great physical game, a hard game for both of these programs. But ultimately, on the road, I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win this game. And I'm sure when I eventually get to my Miami prediction, a lot of fans are going to hate me for that pick. But I cannot pick. I mean, look, Marcus Freeman has his flaws too, right? He's got a loss to Marshall on his resume. He's got a loss to Northern Illinois on his resume. He's not perfect, but neither is Mario Cristobal, right? A guy who has shown he can't win the big games. Cristobal, during his time at Miami, is 1-6 against ranked opponents. And last year, as great as Miami was before falling apart down the stretch, they only played one ranked opponent in 2024, and that was Iowa State in their bowl game. So Miami's great regular season where they dominated, good for them. They didn't really play anybody. And they still lost a couple games to Georgia Tech, Miami, guys like that. So I don't have faith right now in Mario Cristobal in big games. I have a little bit more faith in Marcus Freeman, who just led his team to a national championship game. So yes, it is not ideal to have a young quarterback making his first start in a hostile environment against this good of a defense. That's the storyline people are going to want to point out. But I also want to point out how good Notre Dame's defense is going to be, how great Jeremiah Love is going to be, and how CJ Carr isn't going to have to do his thing all by himself. I think Notre Dame, in a very, very close game, gets the win over Miami. They are 1-0, and they get an early bye week in week 2, and then take on A&M at home in week 3. Last year, they went on the road to College Station, as we know. They defeated the Aggies 23-13, held them to 246 yards of total offense, and only held them to 100 passing yards. A&M mustered 100 passing yards last year in their meeting, but that was a little bit different, right? A&M was under a new identity. First game under Mike Elko, didn't really have an identity on offense, didn't really know what the heck they were going to do at quarterback necessarily. Now they're a little bit more settled. Marcel Reed kind of came onto the scene, was very solid at quarterback for the Aggies this year. A couple games under their belt now coming into 2025. 7 starters back on defense, but their defensive line does have some question marks, which makes me concerned for them going up against a strong Notre Dame offensive line. Last year, when A&M and Notre Dame faced off, the Aggies allowed 198 rushing yards to the Fighting Irish. They allowed 198 rushing yards to the Fighting Irish. A big 40-something yard run that kind of put the game open for Notre Dame. I don't know if A&M can stop them again. That's why we're picking Notre Dame here. Off a week of rest, at home, Marcus Freeman cannot afford a letdown, and he's 1-2 in home openers for Notre Dame. Marshall and Northern Illinois being the 2 losses, so A&M a lot tougher than those teams. Cannot afford a letdown. I don't think he does. I think Notre Dame is the better team from top to bottom, and South Bend, obviously the home field advantage playing a big role. They get the win. They're 2-0. They'll cruise past Purdue, 3-0. They beat them 66-7 last year, and the Boilermakers bound to struggle again. Then they go on the road to Arkansas, and that's an interesting game too. Maybe a trap game, if you want to call it that, for Notre Dame, because Arkansas is that weird team that they've got talent. They've got some talent. They've got a mobile quarterback in Taylon Green, so seeing how Notre Dame's defense manages the running game of Taylon Green, the running game of Arkansas, period, will be interesting. Arkansas's offensive line has improved quite a bit from last year to this year, so that's something to watch out for. This will be a tough game for Notre Dame, and a game where I was almost maybe thinking about picking Arkansas. Really was, but then a couple factors came into play. Number one, the time. This is an 11 o'clock game for the Razorbacks, and that's unfortunate. If this was a night game, maybe you're more inclined to pick the Hogs there. Remember last year they upset a top 5 opponent in Tennessee. Night game in Fayetteville, they pulled off the upset 19-14. But my question is, will the Arkansas defensive line show up? They have a lot of questions on their defensive line. I don't envision them getting much pressure on CJ Carr, and I don't envision them being able to stop Jeremiah Love that often either. So I think Notre Dame's balanced attack offensively is going to really pose some issues for Arkansas defensively, who again has questions up front. Only going to last so long, and this Notre Dame defense will be one of the best that Arkansas sees all year long. Yeah, they've got some talent there, but Taylon Green can't do it all by himself. Notre Dame gets the win in Fayetteville. It's maybe closer than people want it to be, closer than they expect, but they do get the win. They are 4-0 coming into the month of October. They'll take on Boise State, a playoff team last year, right? So I love that. I love this matchup. I think it's awesome that we're getting to see this battle. Yes, Ashton Jeanty is gone. We know that, but it's not the Ashton Jeanty Broncos. It's the Boise State Broncos, right? He was phenomenal, should have won the Heisman, but he was not the entire team. Boise State's still going to be an elite competitor. They've got 7 starters back on defense. Maddox Madsen, their quarterback, does return. 2 of their top 3 pass catchers return. This team almost beat Oregon in Eugene last year, and I think Boise State will remain just as strong, so they're not afraid of coming into South Bend. This game, I think, is relatively close for a while. But Notre Dame ultimately will pull away. Their defense is going to be the difference maker. They will slow down Maddox Madsen. The running game won't be as strong without Ashton Jeanty. Boise State gets the win. They are 5-0. They'll cruise past, I think, NC State. They should improve from last year's 6-7 season. Not enough to win this game on the road. And then they play USC. So undefeated, USC, who knows where they are, 1-loss team, 2-loss team, regardless, it's going to be tough because the Trojans have a squad this year. Jaden Mayava, I think, is the real deal at quarterback. Top 2 pass catchers return. The defense, as you know, improved by over 10 points per game last year. It's a great improvement for the Trojans. But Notre Dame has won 6 straight games against USC in South Bend. They won last year because of their defense. It's a common theme here. They won 49-35 in LA against the Trojans because they had 2 massive pick sixes, 2 99-plus yard pick sixes. I don't think Mayava throws that again. I think he learns from his mistakes. I think USC puts up one heck of a fight. I think this game's close, maybe heading into the fourth quarter. But Notre Dame pulls away. I think as the year goes on, C.J. Carr is going to get better. He's going to get more confident. And that's the dangerous thing about Notre Dame having a dangerous passing attack. Not just a mediocre one that was like 101st last year, but having a Heisman contender at running back plus a really good quarterback with solid wide receivers. Might be one of the best offenses we've seen from Notre Dame in a while. And I don't know if USC's defense is going to be able to keep up with that for the entire 60 minutes. I think it's close. I think USC drops some points on them, just like they did last year. 35 points against that Notre Dame defense. But ultimately, at home, the Fighting Irish extend their streak at home over the Trojans. 7 straight. They're undefeated still. They head into the bye week, the month of November, and they can breathe because it's a lot easier. Really, Notre Dame's season, their schedule is made prior to November. I mean, a lot of tough games there. Miami, A&M, at Arkansas, USC, Boise State, USC. I mean, you look at that, you're looking at maybe 1, 2, 3 to 4 possibly ranked opponents they'll face in the first 2 months of the year. But then you get into the month of November, and it lightens up significantly. Boston College, Navy, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Stanford. None of those teams really strike fear into me if I'm Notre Dame. Yeah, you can't afford to overlook them. You cannot afford a bad loss that late in the year. But I don't think they'll take one. I think Notre Dame goes undefeated in the month of November. Boston College, that'll be Notre Dame's first road game in 34 days. So maybe a little hungover from a bye week, maybe a little culture shock having to play on the road for the first time in over a month. But BC simply doesn't have the offense to keep up in this game. Got a lot of questions there. Could be lucky just to make a bowl game. They're going to win that. They'll cruise past Navy. They won 51-14 last year in a ranked matchup. Number 12 Notre Dame, number 24 Navy. Handed Navy their first loss of the season for 6 turnovers off the midshipmen. They will cruise past them. Pittsburgh's probably the toughest team they'll face in this stretch. The Panthers are off a bye week. They've got 16 starters back, solid quarterback play. That's probably the toughest game and one that Notre Dame absolutely cannot afford to overlook. Actually might be closer than people realize. But Eli Holston's got to take better care of the football, and the defense has to improve quite a bit too. They allowed 265 passing yards per game last year. C.J. Carr could have himself a day through the air. Syracuse won 10 games last year, but loses the majority of the guys that helped them get to that point. It's also senior day in South Bend. Notre Dame will cruise. And then Stanford. A major rebuild for that program. Andrew Luck is trying to do everything he can to help this team. It's not going to happen, at least not this year. Notre Dame won 49-7 last year. I expect a somewhat similar score this year, despite it being out in California. With that being said, Notre Dame's going undefeated. How about that? We've got the Fighting Irish at 12-0. You can argue they'll drop a game. I think if they're going to lose a game, the most likely one is Miami. So 11-1, I think, worst case scenario. They lose to Miami and then run the table. Kind of eerily similar to what we've seen in recent years under Marcus Freeman. You get a loss, whether it's a good loss or a bad loss, out of the way early, and then run the table, just like they did last year. If that's the case, have them lose to Miami, then they win 11 straight. Regardless, this team is a playoff team. This team is a national title team. This team is dangerous and maybe even better than the one we saw last year that, again, had a late rally and was a few plays away from winning a national championship. It was the national runner-up. I love this Notre Dame team. I've got them at 12-0. They've got the squad. They're going to be battle-tested. They've got the coach. And this could be the year they break through and win the whole dang thing. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our weekly newsletters, home to tons of exclusive content to help you get through this offseason. Take advantage of it. Become a member of our GE Nation today. Again, the links for that down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.